Namaskar, this is Firstpost and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. Donald Trump is officially the Republican presidential candidate. Flanked by his entire family, he was the highlight of the final day of the convention. We'll tell you what he said, how his brand has got a boost after the shooting, and they're minting money selling T-shirts, shoes and ear bandages. Meanwhile, Joe Biden could step down soon. Barack Obama has joined the chorus of Democrats who don't see him winning. And what is Project 2025, the Republican plan to overhaul the US government? We'll tell you all about it. Elsewhere in the world, a cyber outage disrupted banks, airports, media companies and telecoms. We look at what caused it and how technology can be weaponized to bring the world to a standstill. In Bangladesh, the protests intensify. India says it is their internal matter. In the UK's Leeds, a bus set on fire and a police car overturned in a riot. As India counts down to budget day, the Reserve Bank flags food inflation. We look at the expectations from this budget. A report on how China's censorship regime is slowing down its AI growth. And can money buy happiness? A new study says it can. We'll discuss the headlines first. Pakistan nabs a close associate of Osama bin Laden. Counter-terrorism officials arrest Aminul Haq. Say he was plotting to target important installations across the country. This is Pakistan's first arrest of an Al-Qaeda leader in many years. Vietnam's Communist Party chief is no more. Nguyen Phu Trong was 80 years old. He held the country's most powerful position for more than a decade. Yesterday, the ruling Communist Party had handed over power to the largely ceremonial president. Ukrainian president addresses the cabinet leaders of the UK. Volodymyr Zelensky receives a standing ovation. He sought more military help from the UK to push back Russian troops. Zelensky is the first foreign leader to address the British cabinet in person since 1997. Spanish Prime Minister's wife appears before a judge over a corruption case but invokes her right to remain silent during the questioning. The Prime Minister has slammed the probe into his wife's business ties, claiming it is an effort to undermine him and his left-wing government. And Japan women's gymnastics captain is out of the Olympics. The 19-year-old will miss the games for violating the team's code of conduct. She was found guilty of smoking. Under Japanese law, it is illegal for anyone under the age of 20 to smoke.
I proudly accept your nomination for President of the United States. Thank you. My hand was covered with blood. We must now come together, rise above past differences.
Enough was enough! And I said, let Trumpomania!
It was theatre, it was politics, and it was over the top. I guess, in 2 words, it was Donald Trump. Thursday was the final day of the Republican convention, so all eyes were on the main event, Trump's acceptance speech. His entry was a grand one, a lot of flickering lights, music blaring from the speakers, and the words Trump written at the back. It looked less like a political party convention and more like WrestleMania. Take a look.
Thank you very much.
Trump for You, ever the showman. As expected, he focused on the assassination attempt, what he felt when he was shot, how he escaped from the stage, and how the Secret Service protected him. Listen to this.
In order to see the chart, I started to, like this, turn to my right and was ready to begin a little bit further turn, which I'm very lucky I didn't do, when I heard a loud whizzing sound and felt something hit me really, really hard on my right ear. I said to myself, wow, what was that? It can only be a bullet. And moved my right hand to my ear, brought it down. My hand was covered with blood, just absolutely blood all over the place. Bullets were continuing to fly as very brave Secret Service agents rushed to the stage, and they really did. They rushed to the stage. The amazing thing is that prior to the shot, if I had not moved my head at that very last instant, the assassin's bullet would have perfectly hit its mark, and I would not be here tonight. We would not be together.
We have seen the pictures 1,000 times, but hearing it from Trump is different. The question is, how has it changed him? The shooting, how has it changed Donald Trump? And he did show a different side of his. He talked about unity and healing.
Like our ancestors, we must now come together, rise above past differences. Any disagreements have to be put aside and go forward, united as one people, one nation, pledging allegiance to one great, beautiful, I think it's so beautiful, American flag.
That was one part of Trump's speech, the assassination and healing. But afterwards, it was business as usual. Unverified claims, personal attacks, and radical promises. Trump spoke for nearly 90 minutes, which is longer than normal acceptance speeches. He only referred to Joe Biden once. Just once. It tells you how complicated things are. Biden may or may not be on the Democratic ticket, so Trump avoided spending too much time attacking him. As he wrapped up, his wife Melania Trump came up on stage. It was a rare appearance by her. She has largely kept away from the campaign trail. She did not attend the convention either, which is strange because normally the candidate's spouse plays an important role in events like these. They may speak at the convention or they may introduce the candidate on stage. Melania Trump spoke at the 2016 and 2020 conventions, but this time she did not. She just made a last-minute cameo. That picture tells a lot. The Trump clan together on stage at the convention. America has had many political dynasties, and the Trumps are right up there. They have complete control of the Republican Party now. Trump's sons had important speaking slots. His daughters-in-law gave speeches. Even his granddaughter, who cannot even vote, had a slot. It tells you about Trump's domination. Beyond the speech, we had a few interesting moments. The first featured Hulk Hogan, and no, it is not a mistake. I am talking about the wrestler. Apparently, he's a big Trump supporter.
But what happened last week when they took a shot at my hero and they tried to kill the next president of the United States? Enough was enough! And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America great again.
The second moment was more poignant. A fireman's uniform was placed on stage beside Trump. It belonged to Corey Comperator. Now, Corey was at Trump's rally last week. He died shielding his family from Trump's shooter. So the Republican convention is over. And what did we learn from it? Broadly, three things. Number one, the Republican Party is now Trump's fiefdom. If you oppose him, there is no place for you. Just look at the people who did not attend. Former President George Bush, former Vice Presidents Dick Cheney and Dan Quayle, Trump's former whip, Mike Pence, and former Republican nominee Mitt Romney. These are stalwarts of the Republican Party. Former presidents and vice presidents. Yet in Trump's reign, they chose to skip. Point number two, Trump's new strategy is hybrid. He will use the assassination to sway undecided voters, but he won't dial down on the rhetoric. Thursday's speech made that quite clear. No climb down on gun rights, no let up on border control, and no end to unverified claims. That remains the typical Trump stump. Which brings us to the final point to note here. The criminal trials and convictions are in the back mirror. They had dealt a blow to Trump's popularity, but the last few days have changed that. First, the assassination bid, and then the convention high. There are no more questions on Trump's viability as a candidate. He has ended the week on a major high. But those questions and doubts are now on the other candidate, sitting President Joe Biden. It's a stark contrast, Trump and Biden. One is ending the convention on a high. The other has a sinking campaign. Joe Biden is out of action because of the Wuhan virus. He's infected and his party wants him out of the race. A growing number of senior Democrats want him to stand down. The latest to join the chorus is Barack Obama, the former president and a trusted counselor to Joe Biden. Reports say Obama spoke to his aides privately. He thinks that Biden's path to the presidency has diminished and that he must reconsider his bid, which is quite significant because of where it's coming from. Joe Biden served as Obama's vice president for 2 consecutive terms. That's 8 years. They worked closely for 8 years. So for Biden, the former president's word carries weight. 2 days ago, Biden tested positive for the Wuhan virus. He's self-isolating in Delaware now. Next week, he's supposed to meet Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, who will be visiting Washington, D.C. The White House expects Biden to keep that appointment.
We have every expectation that the two leaders will have a chance to see each other while Prime Minister Netanyahu is in town.
But will he resume his campaign? In recent days, the pressure on Biden has intensified. So far, he has not changed his mind. But of late, he sounds less rigid and more willing to hear the other side. The arguments in favor of stepping aside, he's more open to them. And people close to Biden say that he could be preparing to leave the race. According to them, and I'm quoting, the reality is setting in. The reality is setting in. What has brought this turnaround? Observers point to 3 events. First, the protest by senior Democrats, the likes of Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. They've lost faith in Joe Biden and his chances. They believe he won't be able to beat Trump and that Democrats could lose seats in the U.S. Congress as a result. The second setback are the polls. Survey after survey shows that Biden is sliding. Donald Trump is gaining ground. Another one came out today. It shows Trump has widened the gap. He now has the largest lead in the election with 52% of all votes. Joe Biden is at 47%. That's what a new survey says. So if elections were to be held today, Trump would win by popular vote. For Biden, it would be a humiliating loss. The third setback for Biden came from the donors. They are pulling support. This month, Biden's campaign had hoped to raise $50 million from just the wealthy donors, $50 million. But after his poor debate performance, they're looking at less than $25 million. So not even 50% of the target. And where is this money going? Well, some donors have turned to Kamala Harris, the current vice president. She's one of the favorites to replace Joe Biden. Harris is currently on the campaign trail filling in for Biden. And for the moment, she's supporting Biden for the presidency.
So, friends, I say the contrast between Joe Biden and Donald Trump is like night and day. But with the selection of his running mate this week, Donald Trump is also trying to distract people. He wants to direct attention away from his record.
She's right. The contrast is like night and day, and Biden's campaign is untenable. Even U.S. allies can see this. European leaders are now courting the Republicans. Up to 20 European countries sent their diplomats to Milwaukee to attend the Republican National Convention. The EU's ambassador to the United States attended this event. All of these diplomats have the same mission: to reconnect with the Red Party, to win over the leaders who are skeptical of the EU and NATO. Like J.D. Vance, Trump's vice presidential nominee. He wants to reduce aid for Ukraine.
Look, the best way to help Ukraine, I think, from a European perspective, is for Europe to become more self-sufficient. Vladimir Putin is, of course, in the geopolitical backyard of Europe. The United States, as it focuses more on East Asia, simply can't be expected to foot a disproportionate share of the burden.
Trump has voiced similar views on NATO. Jens Stoltenberg wants Europe to engage with him. He's the outgoing NATO chief, Stoltenberg. So the trend is quite clear. European nations are reaching out to Donald Trump. They see him as the winning candidate. Where does that leave Biden? In the toughest spot of his career. A sitting president, hoping to run for re-election and losing support every single day. Stepping aside won't be an easy thing to do, but it would be the right thing to do. So Biden may be going down, but brand Trump is only on the rise. Until last week, the U.S. election campaign had hit a lull. All that people talked about were two things: Biden's age and Trump's criminal cases. But Saturday's assassination attempt changed that. Donald Trump was shot at. The bullet barely missed him. It whizzed past his right ear. There was blood on his face. But he still got up and pumped his fist in the air. And that has become an iconic image in America. So much so that it's on a T-shirt. It's called the Donald Trump 2024 Survived Shot at Election Rally T-shirt. It is quite a mouthful, but that's not denting its sales. This particular T-shirt is available on Amazon. It is listed for $18.99, $19. It's available in multiple colors for both men and women. By Monday, it was one of Amazon's top-selling T-shirts. And since then, sales have only gone up by, listen to this, 192,400%. That's the increase in sales. 1,92,400%. It's like Americans can't wait to wear their support on their sleeves, quite literally. So there's a frenzy for Trump merchandise. And of course, the former president wouldn't waste an opportunity like this. After all, he's a businessman first. So his company released new sneakers. They are limited edition. They feature his bloodied face. Currently, they retail for $299, but here's the catch. Only 5,000 pairs are available. 5,000 pairs of these sneakers. 12 of them even have Trump's autograph. Once Americans heard that, it was like Black Friday all over again. The sneakers flew off the shelves. Like I said, no one capitalizes on a moment like Donald Trump. But T-shirts and sneakers are temporary. Some Trump fans went down a more permanent route. They got the moment inked on their bodies.
It was literally probably 20 minutes after he had gotten shot. He had saw the video when he was in the parking lot. And I guess he was just deciding on what to do. And when that happened, he just thought that was it. That was his vision that needed to come to life.
It's almost like a badge of honor. Those who could not commit to a tattoo found another way. Ear bandages. They're similar to the one that Trump is sporting. And looks like they were a must-have accessory at the Republican National Convention.
Helping President Trump set a new fashion statement, and we're standing in solidarity with him for his wound, and we just want him to know how much we love him.
What I got going on here is a patch over my right ear, as Donald Trump wears one. We do it in solidarity with our President Trump because we love him, we support him 100%, and we wish him well.
Matching year patches are good. But what's even better is Trump's financial windfall. Right after the shooting, shares of Trump media soared by 31%. It took the company's valuation to $7.7 billion, which means only one thing. Markets are betting on Trump. They believe that he will win the election, and his company is reaping those gains. Now let's look at the polls. What do they say about Trump's chances? We told you about one that put him at over 50%. Here's another one. It says Donald Trump is at 46.7%. Joe Biden is at 42.4%. So whichever poll you look at, Trump is leading the race. And here's why this is important. These numbers are from crucial swing states. You'll hear this term a lot during the election season, swing states. So for those of you who don't know, here is what swing states are. Most American states have a fixed allegiance. They're either Democratic or Republican. Take California, for example. It's been a Democratic state since 1992. They've voted a Democratic candidate since 1992. Then there's Alabama. It's voted for Republicans for the last 4 decades. These are blue and red states. And then there are a few states that don't have a fixed preference. They swing between Republicans and Democrats, hence the name swing states. And they end up deciding the winner. So having their support is crucial. Whoever wins these states wins the presidential election. In 2016, Donald Trump won crucial swing states. But in 2020, Biden flipped them. What will happen in 2024? We'll have to wait and see. Trump definitely has the edge. The shooting may have left him injured, but it has only boosted his political campaign. So what could a second Trump presidency look like? It may seem like a premature question to some, but it is being widely discussed. What will Trump do differently in the second term? The Republican manifesto has some clues. It was approved at the convention. On first impressions, it promises more of the same. Trump himself has not deviated from his core political agenda, but some hardline conservatives want him to make sweeping changes to the U.S. government. They are proposing a radically new approach, one that could upend the American political system as we know it. The plan is called Project 2025. Our next report tells you all about it.
I proudly accept your nomination for president.
Donald Trump couldn't have asked for a better situation. For the third consecutive time, he has sealed the Republican Party's nomination. He has a clear lead over his Democratic rival. Some of his supporters say that his victory is pretty much certain. If Trump secures the victory, what will his second term look like? Some conservatives have cooked up a playbook for him. It's more than 900 pages long. The Democrats call it a nightmare.
They're pushing this Project 2025, which is a direct threat to so many of the institutions and ideals that we hold dear.
What is Project 2025? It's dangerous, it's dastardly, and it's diabolical.
Project 2025. It's like a blueprint for any conservative leader at the helm of America. It was put together by an American think tank called the Heritage Foundation with over 100 conservative groups. The book spells out a plan to execute a top-to-bottom overhaul of the U.S. government. The plan's first target are American civil servants, about 50,000 of them. They currently don't report to the president. Project 2025 proposes to change that. It wants the president to have the ability to sack them and appoint political loyalists in their place. Project 2025 is willing to suggest replacements too. They plan to build a LinkedIn-style database. It will have names of up to 20,000 potential nominees. They would be screened for their political allegiance. The goal is to have a civil service who will be absolutely loyal to the president. The book has more controversial proposals like these. It calls for the dismantling of key ministries like the Department of Education and Homeland Security, a ban on the sales of abortion pills, as well as terms like abortion, sexual orientation, gender equality, and reproductive rights. Project 2025 suggests that these words should be removed from all laws and federal regulations. Donald Trump has distanced himself from Project 2025. He claims he doesn't know a thing about it. But several former government officials who worked with Trump have contributed to Project 2025. This includes 6 former cabinet secretaries, 4 ambassador nominees, and 140 members of the Trump administration. Top Trump advisors are also part of the project, like Mark Meadows, Trump's former chief of staff, and Stephen Miller, who's Trump's longtime advisor. It's common for policy experts and think tanks to recommend policies to presidential candidates. Project 2025, however, goes much further. It's a step-by-step guide on how to radically overhaul the US government. The goal is to align it with the views of right-wing hardliners. If it goes through, expect some serious pushback from the Democrats.
Now let's talk about today's cyber incident. It was one of the biggest cyber outages to have ever taken place. Systems went down across the world. It started last evening at about 7 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. That's when the chaos began. In airports, banks, hospitals, news studios, and even in Disneyland Paris, people in all these places saw something ominous.
All of the computer monitors were essentially shut down, blue screen of death.
Microsoft's infamous blue screen of death. Almost everyone saw it today. Airports around the world faced issues. They could not update flight details, check in passengers, or even print boarding passes. Some of them, like Delhi Airport, opted for a manual approach. They started issuing handwritten boarding passes. Others cancelled flights. There were over 1,000 cancellations in the US. American Airlines, Delta Airlines, United Airlines all halted flights. The Dutch airline KLM suspended most of its operations. Berlin Airport halted all flights. Air traffic in Switzerland was cut by 30%. Every corner of the world was affected. And again, it wasn't just air travel. Supermarkets in Australia were shut because their checkout counters weren't working. In Paris, the organizers of the Olympics were facing issues. They had to conduct manual security checks because their accreditation desk was down. So you can see how widespread this problem was. But how did it happen? What led to the cyber outage that affected every corner of the globe? Well, here's the smoking gun. Listen to this.
Thank you for contacting CrowdStrike support. CrowdStrike is aware of reports of crashes on Windows hosts related to the Falcon sensor. Please monitor the status via the tech alert on our customer support portal.
The outage was caused by this company, CrowdStrike. Ironically, it's a cyber security firm, a company that makes antivirus softwares and investigates cyber attacks. This is the company that messed up. Now you may wonder, how did it cause such widespread damage? After all, many of you may never have even heard of its name. So how did it access so many computers all over the world? Well, CrowdStrike works with other companies, and one of its clients is Microsoft. CrowdStrike put out a security update yesterday at about 7 p.m. GMT. This update was rolled out across Microsoft computers, and that is how the cyber incident began. There was a problem with the update. It did not react well with Microsoft systems. It caused them to crash and display the dreaded blue screen of death. That's it. That is the reason for the global outage. An automated security update took down Microsoft. And in turn, Microsoft took down companies all over the world. Because this is Microsoft, the most widely used operating system in the world. If Microsoft goes down, the world grinds to a halt. And that's what happened today. The issue has been resolved now, as CrowdStrike was more than eager to announce. This is a message from their CEO. He said that the issue had been identified and isolated, and a fix had been deployed. But his message also raised a few other concerns. He insisted that the outage was not caused by a security incident or a cyber attack. He was very clear about that. That means that all the damage done today was by mistake. But what happens if someone tries to do it on purpose? Think about it. Today proved that the entire world is indeed connected and completely dependent on certain companies and their products. If any of these are compromised, the world will face a major setback. Millions of people will be inconvenienced, businesses will lose billions, and will be sent back to the Stone Age. It's a scary thought. So what can we do? Well, we cannot disconnect. That would also set the world back. But we can diversify. Look at the CrowdStrike CEO's message again. He said that today's issue only affected Windows and that Mac and Linux were not impacted. So if we maintain backups, if we can turn to alternative systems during times of trouble, we would be more secure against both mistakes and attacks. It is not a cost-effective solution, but it may be the only one that we have right now, because if we do not diversify, if we put all our eggs in just one basket, days like today will become more and more common.
We see this as an internal matter of Bangladesh.
Bangladesh remains on edge. People there woke up to more chaos today. Roads were littered with debris, buildings were torched, and the internet was shut off. Most news channels have also gone off air, so the people are cut off from the world. Plus, the army has been deployed across the country. They're repelling protesters with violence. Some have been shot with rubber bullets, but we're also hearing reports of live ammunition being used. So far, 39 people have died in these clashes. More than 2,500 have been injured. The question is there an end in sight? Well, the protesters are in no mood to negotiate. If anything, they are more agitated. Many of them have blamed the ruling party for the violence. That's Sheikh Hasina's Awami League. They have a student wing called the Chhatro League. Protesters have blamed this group for the chaos.
Our senior brothers and sisters held a rally today, and the Chhatro League, the ruling party's student wing, and police tortured them, beat them brutally.
We came here in the morning. Soon after that, police and members of the Chhatro League, the ruling party's student wing, started to attack us. 2 students have been shot in front of me, and we took them to the hospitals.
All this violence is over quotas. A 30% job quota for freedom fighters and their families. Students had opposed it in 2018 as well. Back then, Sheikh Hasina agreed to their demand, and she decided to abolish the quota. But this month, Dhaka's High Court reversed that decision. They brought the quota back. The court brought it back, which is why the students are protesting again. The matter is now in the Supreme Court. So Sheikh Hasina says, wait for the court to settle the matter. But the students are not listening. In fact, it's not just the students. Political parties and activists have also joined in. Experts say it's now a broader movement against inflation, against unemployment, and lack of reforms. But Sheikh Hasina is pushing back. She's blaming the opposition. That's the Bangladesh Nationalist Party and the Jamaat-e-Islami. Both groups have a sketchy past. They are known for hijacking protests. So Sheikh Hasina says they are the ones spreading the violence. Maybe some elements are, but you can't deny that there is real anger too, and that's a worry for neighboring India. Bangladesh has been a reliable ally of New Delhi. It's also been a symbol of stability, unlike India's other neighbors. We have seen turmoil in Sri Lanka, the musical chair of prime ministers in Nepal, the military coup in Myanmar, the Taliban takeover in Afghanistan, and Pakistan's typical house on fire routine. So Dhaka was the exception. Today, India's foreign ministry reacted to the unrest. The spokesperson called it Bangladesh's internal matter.
We issued a travel advisory for people to be in touch with the High Commission and for us to render any assistance that they may need. External Affairs Minister is himself monitoring the situation. We see this as an internal matter of Bangladesh. हमको ज्ञात है कि वहाँ पर
We are aware of the measures taken by the local authorities in view of the protests. Our High Commission remains in touch with local authorities for the safety of our nationals.
टेलीकम्युनिकेशन का वो सब ठीक चल रहा है और इस माध्यम से हम अपने लोगों से जुड़े हुए हैं.
So India doesn't want to take sides, and understandably so. Sheikh Hasina has built close relations with India. Plus, the ground reality is hard to gauge. There is no internet or news media, so you cannot gather and verify information. At the same time, India has a lot at stake here. There are 15,000 Indians living in Bangladesh, out of which more than 8,000 are students. They could be at risk. We know that colleges have become a hotbed of protests. Most of them have been shut indefinitely. So that's a big worry. Secondly, India shares a long border with Bangladesh, more than 4,000 kilometers of it. And we are talking about a very porous border. So there are fears of a spillover. In fact, an organization in Meghalaya has raised the alarm. They claim that Bangladeshis are paying for illegal entry into India. How much? Between 10 and 20,000 rupees, which is around $180. For that money, people are smuggling Bangladeshis into India. That's what one organization claims. India's third worry is political. New Delhi has a commitment to the people of Bangladesh. There are cultural ties, there are linguistic ties, and more importantly, there are ties forged on the battlefield. Indian soldiers fought to liberate Bangladesh. How do you protect that goodwill? I'm afraid it will be a tough balance. On the one hand, you cannot throw Sheikh Hasina under the bus. On the other, you cannot ignore the death of students. A lot will depend on Bangladesh's Prime Minister. Students say that she insulted them last week. She compared them to Razakars, people who sided with Pakistan in 1971. The term Razakar is used for them. Sheikh Hasina used it for protesters. So they want her to apologize now. Hasina has seen many protests during her time in office, and she has survived all of them. Will this one be the same, or will Hasina relent? We'll be tracking this story closely. Now let's look at the UK, which also saw violence on the streets yesterday. A riot erupted in the city of Leeds, in an area called Hare Hills. It began last evening after social service workers went to a house in the area. They were trying to remove some children from a house. This caused an uproar. People gathered in the streets and the police were called in. It seems the police helped take the children away. And that is when the crowd's anger exploded. What followed were scenes of carnage. The police were attacked, a bus was torched, and the riots continued through the night. Here's our report.
Those were visuals from last night, from the riot that broke out in Leeds. An angry mob wreaked havoc in the neighborhood of Hare Hills. A double-decker bus was torched. It was allowed to burn for hours because the fire department could not get to it in time. Reports say they only reached the spot hours later under police escort. A second bus was also caught in the riot. Thankfully, no one was hurt. The passengers and both bus drivers managed to get away. The police have issued a statement on the riot. They say that the full weight of the law will be brought against those responsible. So, who is responsible? How did the riot erupt? It started on Thursday evening at 5 p.m. local time. Social service workers descended upon a house in Leeds, in the Hare Hills neighborhood. The social workers were trying to take 4 children away from their parents. It was reportedly a Romanian family. All 4 children were under the age of 14. As this was happening, some people from the neighborhood started to gather. As the crowd grew, a call was made to the police. The police arrived at the scene and reportedly began to help the social workers take the children away. That is allegedly what sparked the riot. You can see the neighbors gathering around the police vehicles and a woman screaming at the police car. Then someone throws something at the vehicle and others join in. The crowd smashed one car and overturned another. After this, the riot escalated. Later last evening, a mob was marching about Hare Hills. They are the ones who set the bus on fire. And things may have gotten worse if a local councillor hadn't intervened.
Jesus! Whoa, that's Councillor Motin Ali from Green Party.
Motin Ali, a councillor from Britain's Green Party, stepped out to quell the tensions. You can see him stop a rioter who wanted to add wood to a fire. He then confronts the vandals.
Councillor Motin Ali from Green Party is stopping it.
Ali was among those who tried to stop the violence last night. A group of people formed a human shield around police officers to stop them from getting attacked. The locals tried to douse the fires that the rioters had set. They used rubbish bins and buckets to carry water to the flames. All this went on till late last night, until calm finally returned. Authorities have begun the cleanup efforts. The police are setting up a system for people to report incidents from yesterday. They thanked the locals who helped calm the situation and strongly discouraged residents from speculating on the cause of the riot. The police say that incorrect information is circulating on social media. But this isn't just being done by locals. You also have elected MPs fanning the flames. This post by Nigel Farage, the leader of the UK Reform Party, is quite troubling. He said, "The politics of the subcontinent are currently playing out on the streets of Leeds." What subcontinent? Romania isn't really referred to as a subcontinent. Could it be that Farage doesn't know what he's talking about? And, on a whim, he decided to take a shot at the Indian subcontinent? Perhaps the police should strongly discourage him from speculating as well. And as for Leeds, we hope that peace, order, and cooler heads prevail.
We are counting down to India's union budget. It's special for a lot of reasons. For starters, this is the first budget in Prime Minister Modi's third term. It is also a coalition budget after 10 years. So everyone is wondering, what will it look like? What will the focus be? Well, growth is largely taken care of. India's GDP expanded by more than 8% in the last financial year, but inflation could be a worry. Even the Reserve Bank of India, the country's central bank, has flagged it. The RBI governor says growth has steadied, so his focus is unambiguously on inflation.
Because the law in our country, the Reserve Bank of India Act, says that Reserve Bank is mandated to maintain price stability, and price stability in terms of maintaining inflation at 4%. So we are mandated is to maintain price stability, keeping in mind the objective of growth. So growth is holding steady. Now we have to therefore focus clearly and unambiguously on inflation.
Let's focus on two questions. What is driving India's inflation, and what can the union budget do? Some numbers first. India's overall inflation has been below 6% since September last year. In June 2024, last month, it was 5.1%. Not ideal, but not bad either. The problem seems to be food inflation. Food inflation in India was 7.9% in May, but last month, in June, it rose to 9.4%. And that's a significant rise. Most experts attribute it to the recent heat wave, much like last year. Last year's food inflation was also blamed on weather. So we assume that the price shock would be temporary. But the RBI disagrees. Look at their latest bulletin, and I'm quoting, "The argument that food price shocks are transitory does not seem to be borne out by the actual experience over the past 1 year. Too long a period for a shock to be termed as transitory." So India's food inflation is sticky. As a result, it is dragging overall prices. The RBI's inflation target is 4%, but like I said, the actual rate is over 5%. Can the budget do something about it? Well, India already spends a lot on food and its cultivation. Just look at the interim budget. Food and fertilizer subsidy made up 8% of total spending. Food alone was given $24 billion, and that was the interim projection. Now reports say that India will have to spend 11% more. In fact, the food subsidy bill has doubled in the last decade, which is a worry for the government. They have curbed the export of grains, they have targeted hoarders, they've extended free food programs. Yet, food inflation is sticky. So the only option is to keep at it, especially in the current political climate. You see, despite the win, the BJP suffered electoral reverses in the recent election. They are now preparing for state polls. 3 states 3 state elections are lined up: Maharashtra, Haryana and Jharkhand. Now, 2 of these states have a BJP or allied government. So expect a minor dose of populism this time, maybe even tax cuts. Reports say the finance minister is considering incentives for the salaried class, basically putting more money in people's pockets. Having said that, there is a flip side to this. More spending can increase the country's deficit. It can also add to the overall inflation. So India needs a holistic approach to this problem. Take climate change, for example. It is not going anywhere. Our weather patterns will only get more unpredictable. So it's important to prepare our farmers, to shock-proof their output. Same with supply chains, things like transport and storage. A more efficient supply chain will reduce leakages, which means it will bring down prices. But to achieve all of this, you need investments. You must modernize the agro sector because free food programs are not a long-term solution. We have 1.4 billion mouths to feed. So food is a national security concern in India, and by extension, so is food inflation. Now let's talk about the AI race, artificial intelligence. The race is heating up across the globe. Countries are running the marathon. China too is part of this race, but looks like it's running with shackles on its feet. Why do I say that? Because of its love for censorship. China may be developing artificial intelligence, but it is hindered by one thing: its need for control. AI models need a lot of data to train. But when you start scrubbing out troves of politically sensitive data, AI companies have to work twice as hard to make sure that they comply with the regime's diktats. So will China's censorship regime derail its AI ambitions? Our next report tells you.
The world of artificial intelligence is a dynamic one. Innovation is the name of the game here. But China seems to find itself in a bind. It wants to surpass the West in developing new AI systems. But its need for control seems to have delayed its progress. It's truly an iconic scenario. Strict control is what ensures the communist regime's grip on power. Yet now it's hindering Beijing's technological aspirations. It's like running a marathon with your feet shackled. And that's exactly what China is doing. The main hindrance is the Cyberspace Administration of China, the country's chief regulator. It has imposed quite a strict regulatory framework. It tests AI models developed by Chinese tech giants and startups, the likes of ByteDance, Alibaba, Moonshot and 01.ai. All models must undergo a very elaborate review to ensure that they adhere to core socialist values. So what do these reviews include? Well, tens of thousands of questions. It's to test the AI model's response, especially how it reacts to politically sensitive topics. One report suggests that the models must answer around 70,000 questions. This is to test if it gives safe answers. Plus, the company must submit a separate data set of around 10,000 questions. These are things that the AI model will deliberately not answer. It's mostly linked to the Communist Party. Here's an example. Imagine if there's a question on the Tiananmen Square massacre, or one questioning President Xi Jinping's policies. Then China's AI models should refuse to answer them. So it's a catch-22 situation, and it's not getting any better. When ChatGPT released, China was already behind in the AI race. Its firms raced to build a new AI model. But the added burden of ideological compliance makes their task Herculean. You see, training AI models means you need a lot of data. But if you have to start scrubbing that data, it slows down the process. Plus, artificial intelligence is unpredictable. That means you can't guarantee the answer it will give will comply with the diktats of the communist regime. That makes this even harder. In the last decade, China made progress in the world of AI, especially in image recognition. What helped the government then was its heavy-handed approach. It could use vast troves of citizens' data to train surveillance systems. But today, this strategy is a liability. As China races to catch up with the West, it must confront the reality. The road to AI supremacy isn't about chips or algorithms, it's also about freedom and a free-flowing trove of information. Right now, China's self-imposed shackles may prove to be its greatest impediment.
Money cannot buy happiness. We've all heard that one before, but is it true? A new study claims it isn't. The study says that money and happiness are related. There is a quote-unquote positive association between the two, meaning when money increases, so does happiness. That's what the study says. What led to this conclusion? The research measured life satisfaction across different income groups. Study participants shared their satisfaction ratings on a scale of 1 to 7, and this was the result. For millionaires and billionaires, the satisfaction rating was about 6 out of 7. For those earning about $100,000 a year, that is middle income participants, the rating was 4.6, which is a big drop. And for those earning $15,000 to $30,000 a year, that is low income participants, the rating was about 4. So the higher the wealth, the greater the satisfaction. That is the conclusion of the study. Basically, the more money you have, the happier you are. That's what it says. I wonder how many of you would agree. Can money really buy happiness? Well, you could argue on both sides. Let's give it a shot. Yes, money can bring happiness. It's only logical because money brings more security, safety, newer and bigger opportunities, more exposure, more freedom. There is a long list of things that money can get you. And all of these things together can make you happy. But will happiness increase with an increase in money forever? This is where it gets tricky. Wealth and happiness. Their relationship has confused philosophers, social scientists, and economists for centuries now. There is a lot of research on this topic, but this research is contradictory. For ages, studies showed no link between the two, money and happiness, no link. They said money cannot buy happiness. But in the last decade or so, the research became more extensive and the answers changed. Studies started claiming, yes, money does bring you happiness and a whole lot of it, but not forever. With money, your basic needs are met, that's food, shelter, and so on. With more money, your advanced needs are met, like a better lifestyle, bigger home, and a sense of security, which in most cases does translate into happiness. But eventually, money stops playing a major role in happiness. In other words, happiness plateaus at a certain level of wealth. That's what the new studies say. And what is this level of wealth? What is the threshold? Again, there is no consensus. A 2010 study said the limit is $75,000. So money will bring you happiness till you get that amount, $75,000. Then it will plateau. And this study was groundbreaking. Then came another one. It found that money-happiness correlation can be extended to $500,000. It's a solid increase. And now the most recent study quashes this claim as well. It says there is no limit. As the money increases, it will bring you more joy. So you may want to take this with a pinch of salt. Also because, like we said, this area of research has not been the most trustworthy. And secondly, because this study is self-published, it is not peer-reviewed, hence less credible. And thirdly, because it seems like an overgeneralization. Can it really be that simple? Will the richest person on earth also be the happiest? Can a magic income maximize your happiness? There's got to be more to it. Maybe it is not about money, maybe it's about expectations. We all know people who make a lot of money but are not necessarily happy. We also know people who took a lower paying job to do what they love and are enjoying it. So maybe we're looking at this all wrong. Maybe it is not about material happiness at all. It is about contentment. And that cannot be reduced to an equation. And now it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. In Yemen, thousands of Houthi supporters rally in solidarity with Palestinians. Wildfires rage across Siberia as firefighters struggle to tackle the blaze. And Cambodia finds 5 nests of endangered Siamese crocodiles in a historic breeding event. Finally, we're taking you back in history. On this day in 1969, India nationalized 14 major commercial banks. It was ordered by then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. These banks controlled about 85% of bank deposits in the country. We're leaving you on that note. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend.
From impeachments to inaugurations, if it's a political story, we are on the scene. The race for the White House is heating up.
We're beating Biden.
How dare he say that?
If it's breaking news, we're live with the latest coverage. From the White House, the State Department, and Capitol Hill, we know the issues, but above all, we know the players to bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories that we're covering. I'm Eric Ham. Join me from Washington here on Firstpost America.